Natalie Simmons had built her empire from the ground up. A self-made influencer, she had risen from a small-town girl with a dream to one of the most prominent voices in the online sphere. Her platform was vast. Millions of followers who admired her style, her authenticity, and her relentless advocacy for equality. She was a voice for the voiceless, a beacon for those who had felt unseen. And this holiday season, she was ready to take a much-needed break. The holiday season meant a lot to Natalie. It was her chance to reconnect with herself, to breathe, and to share moments of joy with her followers. For weeks, she had been planning a retreat, something bigger, something grander than ever before. She rented a sprawling mansion nestled in the hills of California, with sweeping ocean views that could make anyone gasp. The property had everything: infinity pools, floor-to-ceiling windows, a private beach, and a modern design worthy of a magazine cover. It was the kind of place that screamed exclusivity. When the booking was confirmed, Natalie was thrilled. She imagined herself hosting virtual holiday parties from the mansion, sharing sunsets with her followers, and spreading positivity. Her followers were already hyped about her plans, and she promised them a vlog series documenting her stay. The winter retreat, she called it. It was even more breathtaking in person. The sheer size of the property was overwhelming, its white-walled exterior gleaming under the California sun. Natalie's heart swelled with excitement. This was exactly what she needed: a place to relax, recharge, and inspire. "I can already see the content we'll create here," Natalie said, her voice brimming with enthusiasm. "This is going to be the best holiday yet." As they pulled into the driveway, a man emerged from the house. He was tall, in his late 50s, with salt and pepper hair and a tailored suit that seemed out of place in the casual California heat. He was smiling, but something about the way he stood, the stiffness in his posture, the way his eyes narrowed as he looked at the car, made Natalie pause. She brushed it off as nerves. After all, she was used to people being a little starstruck when they met her. Natalie stepped out of the car, her designer boots clicking against the pavement. "Hi, I'm Natalie. Thank you so much for letting us stay here. The house is incredible." The man's smile faltered for a moment, almost imperceptibly, before he recovered. "Ah, Ms. Simmons," he said, his voice polite but cool. "Yes, welcome. I wasn't expecting you to arrive so early." There was something in his tone, something that Natalie couldn't quite place, but she smiled politely and extended her hand. "I hope that's not a problem. We're just so excited to see the place." The man hesitated before shaking her hand, his grip brief and perfunctory. "Of course," he said. "Shall we take a look inside?" The grand entrance of the mansion was just as stunning as Natalie had imagined. The double doors swung open to reveal a massive foyer, with marble floors that gleamed like mirrors and a crystal chandelier that caught the sunlight pouring through the windows. The space was immaculate, a perfect blend of modern luxury and timeless elegance. But despite the beauty surrounding her, Natalie couldn't shake the uneasy feeling that had crept in the moment she met the owner. "Wow," Mia said softly, her voice echoing in the cavernous space. "This is next level. I mean, look at this place." Natalie nodded, forcing herself to focus on the mansion's grandeur. She walked further into the foyer, her boots clicking against the marble. "It's perfect," she said, pulling her phone out to snap a quick photo. "Absolutely perfect." But as she raised her phone, the owner cleared his throat sharply. "Ah, Ms. Simmons," he said, stepping forward, his hands clasped behind his back. "Before we go any further, I'd like to go over a few expectations." Natalie lowered her phone, her eyebrows raising slightly. "Expectations?" "Yes," he said, his tone clipped. "You see, this is a very exclusive property, and we have a certain standard to maintain. I trust you understand." Mia exchanged a glance with Natalie, her smile faltering. Natalie tilted her head slightly, her voice calm but firm. "Of course. I've read all the policies and guidelines in the rental agreement." "Is there something specific you're concerned about?" The man hesitated, his eyes darting between Natalie and Mia. "Well, it's just that we've had, issues in the past. Certain guests who didn't exactly respect the property or the environment." Natalie's smile didn't waver, but her eyes sharpened. "I see. And what kind of issues are you referring to?" He cleared his throat again, clearly uncomfortable. "Oh, nothing too serious. Just, you know, Noise complaints, large groups, that sort of thing. I'm sure you understand how important it is to maintain the property's reputation in the community. Natalie's fingers tightened slightly around her phone. She could feel the weight of his words, the unspoken assumptions hanging in the air. Large groups, noise complaints, reputation. She had heard this kind of language before. Coded words meant to disguise prejudice as concern. I understand completely, she said, her tone steady. But just so we're clear, it's only myself and my assistant staying here. And as you can see, we're not exactly a large group. The man chuckled nervously, his smile faltering again. Of course, I didn't mean to imply anything. It's just, well, this is a very high-end property, and we have to be selective about who we rent to. There it was. The words hung in the air like a slap. Natalie felt Mia stiffen beside her, and she knew her assistant had caught it too. Selective. Natalie took a slow breath, her face the picture of composure. I see. And yet, you did agree to rent it to me, didn't you? The owner shifted uncomfortably, his hands tightening behind his back. Yes, of course, your application was thorough. I just want to ensure that everything goes smoothly during your stay. Natalie studied him for a moment, her mind racing. She could feel the subtle but unmistakable edge in his demeanor, the way he looked at her, like he was waiting for her to prove him right. She thought about the countless times she had faced this kind of treatment, the microaggressions disguised as polite conversation. But this time was different. This time she had a platform, and she wasn't about to let it slide. Well, she said finally, her voice cool, I can assure you that everything will go smoothly. I take pride in respecting the spaces I occupy, and I expect the same respect in return. The man blinked, caught off guard by her directness. Of course, he said quickly. I didn't mean to offend. Good, Natalie interrupted, her smile returning. Because I'd hate for there to be any misunderstandings. Mia stepped forward, placing a hand on Natalie's arm. Why don't we finish the tour? She said, her tone light but pointed. I'm sure Natalie would love to see the rest of the house. The owner nodded quickly, eager to move on. Yes, of course, right this way. As they walked through the mansion, Natalie couldn't help but notice the way the owner kept glancing at her, his smile never quite reaching his eyes. He pointed out the amenities with practiced ease, but there was a stiffness to his movements, a guardedness that only fueled Natalie's unease. When they reached the master bedroom, he hesitated at the door. I suppose you'll want to redecorate a bit, he said, his tone light but condescending. I imagine this isn't quite your style. Natalie raised an eyebrow, her smile tight. I think it's beautiful just the way it is, she said. But thank you for your concern. Mia shot her a quick glance, her expression a mix of disbelief and anger. Natalie could feel her assistant's frustration bubbling beneath the surface, but she gave Mia a subtle shake of her head. Not yet. The tour ended in the living room where the owner turned to face them, his hands clasped in front of him. Well, I think that's everything, he said. If you have any questions, or if there's anything you need, please don't hesitate to let me know. Thank you, Natalie said, her voice calm but firm. I'm sure we'll be just fine. As the owner walked away, Mia let out a low whistle. Wow, that guy is something else. Natalie sighed, her shoulders relaxing slightly. Yeah, she said. He is. What do you want to do? Mia asked. We could still cancel, find somewhere else. No, Natalie said quickly. I'm not going anywhere. This is my holiday and I'm not letting him ruin it. Mia nodded, her expression softening. Okay, but if he keeps this up, he won't, Natalie said. She pulled out her phone, her fingers flying across the screen. Because I'm going to make sure he knows exactly who he's dealing with. The moment the front door clicked shut behind the owner, Natalie let out a slow, measured breath. Her calm exterior never wavered, but inside, she was simmering. She turned to Mia, who was already pacing the marble floor, her arms crossed tightly over her chest. That man is disgusting, Mia said, her voice low but heated. I mean, he wasn't even trying to hide it. Selective, my ass. Natalie placed her phone down on the kitchen island and leaned against the counter, her fingers drumming lightly against its cool surface. I know, she said, her voice steady. But this isn't the first time I've dealt with people like him. And it shouldn't have to be, Mia said, her frustration bubbling over. You shouldn't have to just sit there and take it. I'm not just sitting here, Natalie said, meeting her assistant's eyes. I'm thinking. Mia stopped pacing and raised an eyebrow. Thinking about what? Natalie's gaze drifted to her phone. She could still hear the owner's condescending tone in her mind, his thinly veiled insults disguised as concern. Her followers knew her for her strength, her willingness to speak out against injustice. This was her moment to do just that, not just for herself but for everyone who had been made to feel less than because of the color of their skin. "I'm thinking about how to handle this," Natalie said, picking up her phone. "If he thinks he can treat me like this and get away with it, he's about to learn otherwise." Mia's eyes widened. "Wait, are you going to—" "Damn straight I am," Natalie said, already opening her camera app. "He doesn't know who I am, Mia, but he's about to find out." Natalie propped her phone up on the countertop and hit record. She took a deep breath, centering herself before speaking. "Hey everyone," she began, her voice calm but resolute. "I want to talk to you about something that just happened to me. Something that happens to a lot of us, but we don't always have the chance to talk about it." As she spoke, she recounted the events of the morning, the subtle but undeniable racism, the coded language, the way the owner had treated her like she didn't belong. She didn't hold back. Her words measured but powerful. She knew her audience, and she knew how to deliver a message that would resonate. "This isn't just about me," she said, her voice steady. "This is about all of us who've been judged, dismissed, or treated differently because of the way we look. It's about holding people accountable for their actions and showing them that we won't stand for it anymore." She ended the video with a call to action, encouraging her followers to share their own stories of discrimination and to stand together against prejudice. Then, without hesitation, she hit post. Mia watched in awe as Natalie's video began to gain traction almost immediately. Comments and likes poured in, the notifications lighting up Natalie's screen like fireworks. "Holy crap," Mia said, peering over Natalie's shoulder. "It's blowing up already." Natalie nodded, her expression calm but focused. "Good. The more people see it, the better." Within an hour, the video had been shared thousands of times. Natalie's followers rallied behind her, flooding the comments with messages of support and outrage. Many shared their own experiences with racism, creating a chorus of voices that buzzed with determination and solidarity. The hashtag #StandWithNatal began trending nationwide. By the time the sun began to set, Natalie's video had reached millions. Celebrities, activists, and even major brands chimed in, amplifying her message and calling for accountability. Natalie's phone buzzed nonstop with notifications, but she barely glanced at them. Her focus was on the bigger picture. Meanwhile, the owner of the property was feeling the heat. Natalie's followers had quickly identified him and the mansion, and the backlash was swift and merciless. Reviews of his rental business plummeted as people flooded his page with one-star ratings and scathing comments. News outlets picked up the story, further amplifying the outrage. The owner's phone rang incessantly, his inbox flooded with hate mail and demands for an apology. At first, he tried to dismiss the situation, telling himself it would blow over. But as the hours passed, it became clear that this wasn't going away. Back at the mansion, Natalie sat on the couch with Mia, scrolling through the flood of messages pouring in. She felt a mix of emotions, gratitude for the support, anger at the injustice, and a deep sense of responsibility to keep fighting. "Natalie, look at this," Mia said, holding up her phone. "Nike just tweeted about you. They're calling you an inspiration." Natalie glanced at the screen, her lips curving into a small smile. "That's amazing," she said. "But this isn't over yet." "What do you mean?" Mia asked. Natalie leaned back against the couch, her eyes thoughtful. "I mean, I'm not just going to let him sit there and watch this happen. He needs to face me. He needs to understand what he's done." Mia nodded slowly. "Do you think he will?" "Oh, he will," Natalie said, her voice firm. "Trust me." And she was right. Just an hour later, the owner called Natalie's phone, his voice tight with panic. "Ms. Simmons," he began, his tone dripping with insincerity. "I just wanted to apologize for any misunderstandings that may have occurred earlier. I assure you, I never intended to offend." "Stop," Natalie said, cutting him off. "We both know exactly what you intended, and now you're dealing with the consequences." "Please," he said, his voice cracking. "Can we just resolve this? I don't want any trouble." Natalie's lips curved into a smile, though her eyes burned with determination. "Oh, I'm not interested in resolving anything," she said. "I'm interested in change. And if you're not willing to change, then you'll just have to live with the trouble. She hung up, leaving him to stew in the mess he had created. By the next morning, Natalie's video had evolved into a full-blown cultural moment. The internet was ablaze with conversation, and her name was on everyone's lips. News anchors discussed the story on morning shows, dissecting the video and its implications. Activists praised her for her courage, while brands scrambled to align themselves with her message. The hashtag #StandWithNatal trended for a second consecutive day, becoming a rallying cry for equality and justice. Natalie woke up to hundreds of notifications lighting up her phone. She scrolled through the messages, her heart swelling at the overwhelming support. There were tweets from celebrities she admired, heartfelt messages from followers who shared their own experiences, and even offers from companies wanting to collaborate. "Natalie," Mia said, rushing into the room with her tablet in hand. "You're not going to believe this." "What is it?" Natalie asked, sitting up in bed. Mia handed her the tablet, showing her an article from a major news outlet. The headline read, "Influencer Natalie Simmons sparks national conversation on racism in luxury spaces. We won't stand for it." "It's everywhere," Mia said, her voice brimming with excitement. "They're calling you a hero." Natalie skimmed the article, her heart pounding. She had always used her platform to advocate for change, but she had never imagined it would explode like this. She set the tablet aside and took a deep breath, her mind racing with thoughts. "This is bigger than me," she said finally, looking at Mia. "This is about all of us who've ever been made to feel like we don't belong. I have to do something more." "More?" Mia asked. "You've already done so much. I mean, look at this. Half the country is behind you." Natalie shook her head. "It's not enough to just call him out. I need to make sure this doesn't happen again. To anyone." Mia nodded slowly, her expression thoughtful. "Okay. So what's the plan?" Before Natalie could answer, her phone buzzed with an incoming call. She glanced at the screen and saw the name of a well-known luxury brand. She answered, putting the call on speaker. "Ms. Simmons," the voice on the other end said warmly. "This is Rachel from Lux Living. I just wanted to say how much we admire your bravery in speaking out. We'd love to collaborate with you on a campaign to promote inclusivity in luxury spaces." Natalie exchanged a glance with Mia, a small smile playing on her lips. "Thank you, Rachel. I appreciate your support and I'd be happy to discuss a partnership. Let's set up a time to talk." As the call ended, Mia let out a low whistle. "Lux Living? That's huge." Natalie nodded, her mind already working. If they're serious about inclusivity, they'll put their money where their mouth is. And if they don't, I'll make sure everyone knows it. The day continued in a whirlwind of emails, calls, and social media posts. Brands lined up to support Natalie, eager to align themselves with her message. Some offered sponsorship deals, while others pledged donations to organizations fighting for racial justice. Natalie accepted only the offers that aligned with her values, determined to use this moment to create real change. But while Natalie's star continued to rise, the owner of the mansion was spiraling. His attempts to apologize had fallen flat, and the public wasn't buying his excuses. His business was in shambles, with bookings canceled and scathing reviews flooding his website. He had become a pariah in his community, his reputation tarnished beyond repair. Desperate to salvage what little he had left, the owner reached out to Natalie again. This time, his tone was different, less defensive, more pleading. "Ms. Simmons," he said when she answered the phone, "I know I've made mistakes and I'm truly sorry for the way I treated you. Please, I'm begging you, can we find a way to move forward?" Natalie listened to his words, her expression unreadable. She had spent years dealing with people like him, people who only apologized when they were caught, when they had something to lose. But this time, she had the power to turn the tables. "I appreciate your apology," she said finally, her voice calm but firm. "But this isn't just about me. This is about the larger issue of racism in spaces like yours. If you're serious about making amends, then you need to do more than apologize. You need to take action." "Of course," he said quickly. "Anything you want. Just tell me what to do." Natalie's lips curved into a small, determined smile. "I'll be in touch." As she hung up, Mia raised an eyebrow. "What are you thinking?" Natalie leaned back in her chair, her eyes thoughtful. "I'm thinking it's time to turn this place into something better." That evening, Natalie posted a follow-up video, Sitting in the mansion's stunning living room, she addressed her followers with the same calm resolve that had made her first video so powerful. "First of all, I want to thank each and every one of you for your support," she began. "Your voices have made a difference, not just for me, but for everyone who's ever experienced prejudice or discrimination. Together, we've shown that we won't stand for it anymore." She paused, her expression growing serious. "But this isn't just about calling out bad behavior. It's about creating lasting change. That's why I'm taking the next step. I've decided to purchase this property and transform it into a space that represents everything its previous owner didn't: equality, inclusivity, and justice." The announcement sent shockwaves through social media. Her followers erupted with excitement, praising her bold move and pledging their continued support. The mansion, once a symbol of exclusivity and prejudice, would now become a beacon of hope and progress. As Natalie closed the video, she looked directly into the camera, her voice steady and powerful. "This isn't the end," she said. "This is just the beginning." 2 weeks later, the mansion was unrecognizable. Not in its physical appearance, which remained as breathtakingly luxurious as ever, but in its energy. Gone was the air of exclusivity and judgment that had once lingered in its halls. In its place was something new, a sense of purpose, of change, of hope. Natalie stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Pacific Ocean, the gentle waves glittering in the afternoon sun. She had spent the past several days working tirelessly to finalize the purchase of the mansion, and now it was hers, every square foot of it. But this wasn't about ownership. This was about transformation. "Okay, are you ready?" Mia asked, walking into the room with a camera in hand. Natalie turned and smiled. "I've been ready." They had decided to film a special announcement for Natalie's followers, one that would reveal her plans for the mansion and the mission behind it. As Mia set up the shot, Natalie took a moment to center herself. This was more than just a story for social media. It was a statement, a commitment to something larger than herself. Mia gave her a thumbs up, and Natalie stepped into the frame. She smiled at the camera, her presence radiating strength and sincerity. "Hi everyone," she began. "Today I want to share something that's been in the works for the past couple of weeks. Something I'm incredibly proud of." She gestured to the space around her, the sunlight streaming through the windows casting a warm glow. "This mansion is officially mine, but it's not just mine, it's ours. Because this isn't going to be just a home. It's going to be a space for change." Natalie's expression grew serious, her voice steady and powerful. "When I first came here, I was met with judgment and prejudice. But instead of letting that define my experience, I decided to take control of the narrative. This mansion will now serve as a hub for initiatives that promote equality, inclusivity, and justice. It will be a space for community events, workshops, and programs that empower those who have been marginalized." She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. "We're calling it Hope House. And it's not just a name, it's a promise. A promise to turn pain into progress, to take what was meant to divide us and use it to bring us together." Mia's camera panned around the room, capturing the beauty of the mansion as Natalie's voice carried on, filled with conviction. "This is just the beginning," Natalie said, her gaze steady and unwavering, "because we deserve spaces that welcome us, that celebrate us, that see us. And together, we're going to create them, one step at a time." As she finished her speech, Mia lowered the camera, her eyes shining. "That was perfect," she said softly. "Absolutely perfect." Natalie smiled, a sense of peace settling over her. For the first time in weeks, she felt like she could breathe. She had taken something meant to diminish her and turned it into something extraordinary. And in doing so, she had shown not just herself, but the world, what was possible. The video went live that evening, and the response was overwhelming. Messages of support poured in from around the globe, with people pledging their time, resources, and voices to support Hope House. Major brands reached out, eager to sponsor events and initiatives. Activists and community leaders offered to collaborate, their enthusiasm infectious. But perhaps most importantly, Natalie's story inspired others to take action in their own lives. Thousands of people shared their experiences with discrimination and how they had turned those moments into opportunities for growth and change. Hope House began trending, a symbol not just of Natalie's journey, but of a collective movement toward inclusion and equality. As Natalie stood on the balcony that night, watching the stars twinkle above the ocean, she felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The mansion was no longer just a building. It was a symbol, a beacon of hope for anyone who had ever felt out of place. And it was only the beginning. Because Natalie Simmons wasn't just an influencer, she was a force to be reckoned with. And she was just getting started.